Happy Monday, everybody. Hope your week is off to a great start. It sure is here. Hope you're doing well, and welcome to today's edition of Daily Distinction. So glad that you are here. We're talking zombies today. Yes, if you saw it on the show notes before I got started, the topic of today's program is when you need to be more like a zombie. You intrigued yet? You interested yet? When we need to be more like a zombie is the topic of today. I'm serious. There's a couple zombie qualities that we're going to be talking about that are pretty good for us to have, in spite of what we think of zombies. Right? I mean, zombies are typically not thought of as being something to aspire to. Right? I mean, as we see them, we're going to learn a little bit more about zombies and a little bit more about a lot of stuff on today's program. Glad you're here. Thank you for being here for Daily Distinction today. Boom, it is Monday. Yes, Brian, glad you're here. Thank you, Janice. Good to know that you are intrigued. Oh, my goodness, Charles. I know I've got a 1 o'clock appointment on a Zoom call with a colleague, a friend who is not too far from your area there, and was just talking about how it can barely breathe. It's no sunshine in the forecast for you guys all week. So hazy there. Sorry that you're dealing through that. Yes, zombie. See, it's noon here and I still got my coffee with me, Brian. I'm telling you. So good. I'm a coffee nut. Sounds like you today, Cheryl. You're zombieing today. Zombie lemmings that eat people. Well, we'll talk about that, Mike. We got a couple ideas for you there. Hey, Jesse, good to see you from Wyoming. Things are good here. Hope things are great there. Hope things are good. Man, I've spoken Wyoming a while back in Cheyenne for Black Hills Energy, and had the privilege of driving all through Wyoming. I've got a friend in Gillette. So Wyoming, what a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful state. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Scott, always great to see you. Thank you for being here as always. Sonia, happy Monday to you as well. Thank you for being here. Hey, before we get into the zombies, I want to talk to you about what you need to know about the Standout Earn More Summit, the Distinction Summit. It's coming up in about a month, October 16th to 18th. I know from looking here that many of you have signed up. If you haven't, now's the time to do it at distinctionsummit.com. You're going to get $100 off when you use the code DISTINCT2020. Distinct 2020 will get you $100 off the registration. That means it's less than $100 for a general admission ticket to the Distinction Summit, and the VIP speakers are going to be announced very soon. Got a couple big surprises for you. Think you're going to like. It's going to be an incredible summit. Thank you for getting in there early and signing up. DistinctionSummit.com is where you need to go, and don't forget to use the code DISTINCT2020 that will enable you to take $100 off your registration. In Casper, yes, with Black Hills is where you saw me, Jesse. That's right, absolutely. Thank you for remembering that. I appreciate that. That was a terrific event. I really enjoyed that. Gosh, that was Casper. I said Cheyenne. What am I talking about? So glad you're there. Yeah, I had another program in Casper a while back, or in Cheyenne a while back. So that was really great. Storm watching. Oh man, Scott, I'm telling you, it just seems like every day there's another announcement of a tropical storm that is turned into a category 1 or 2, and it's just crazy. So please keep us posted on how you're doing. I really, really appreciate that. We're looking out for you. Please stay safe. All right, we said it earlier, the topic of today, zombies. And as I mentioned earlier, we tend to think of zombies as these creatures that no one in their right mind would want to be around, right? So I got a little interested. A lot of folks are so into Walking Dead. My pal Dana, that's been on here before, is a big Walking Dead fan. I've never, ever gotten into the show, The Walking Dead. So I kind of got interested in where did all this come from, right? Where did this come from? And the ancient Greeks may have been the first civilization terrorized by a fear of the undead. And the reason they speculate on that is that in researching and finding of burial grounds in ancient Greece, at a period of time, they put a lot of extra weight on the top of the crypt. And there were accompanying documents that it was to prevent them from coming back to life and being undead and walking among the living. So the ancient Greeks As far as we know, it was the first civilization that was terrorized by a fear of the undead. Now, zombie folklore has been around for centuries in Haiti, possibly originating in the 17th century. And what they said there is West African slaves were brought into work in Haiti's sugarcane plantations, and they viewed dying and escaping slavery and then coming back as being kind of ideal, believe it or not. And then there were some practices, even fairly recently, where people would poison themselves, be mistaken for dead, buried, and then they would be brought out by family members or brought out by, even to the point I read one story where this worker was desired by another plantation. So they poisoned him where they thought he was dead. He was buried, and then they dug him up and took him to work at their plantation. In fact, if that seems unbelievable, in 1997, an article in the highly respected British medical journal, The Lancet, had evidence of 3 verifiable accounts of zombies in the sense of someone clinically pronounced dead, buried, who comes back to life. So this was interesting. According to the Undead 18th Century, that's a book by Linda Troost, zombies appeared in literature as far back as 1697. They were described as spirits or ghosts, not the cannibalistic fiends that we know in today's literature. And most importantly, even ScoobyDoo battled zombies. Remember this? The 1998 film ScoobyDoo on Zombie Island. So, hey, man, if Scooby-Doo's fighting them, it's got to be. Oh, Charles, your stepdad lives in Wyoming. I didn't know that, but stays in Hawaii during the winter. Wyoming winters can be pretty difficult, pretty tough, huh? So given all this that we know, we've talked about here today, why should we ever want to be like a zombie? Well, I'm going to suggest to you there are 3 things about a zombie that we could learn from. 3 things about a zombie that we can incorporate into what we're doing that really needs some consideration. First of all, one of the things we know about zombies is what happens if a zombie bites you, you become a zombie. We see that in all the things on Walking Dead. World War Z is a movie that I've really enjoyed with Brad Pitt. So if a zombie bites you, you become a zombie. So they are contagious. A person bitten by a zombie will become a zombie. I want a positive attitude as contagious as a zombie. Attitudes are contagious. If you didn't see yesterday's program, I'd really appreciate if you go back and watch it. And the reason is because we talked about the 4 stages of anger yesterday. And gosh, it just seems like everybody has a shorter fuse, probably because of COVID, maybe because of what's happening in the news media and in the world today and in the politics and everything else. But it seems like everybody has a shorter fuse. And bad attitudes are contagious. So are great attitudes. Are you the kind of person that has a contagious attitude that people would like to be around? If you bite them with your attitude, what do they become? So we have to understand that just like attitudes, yes, it is really out there today, Jerry. Hang on. You're going to be all right where this finishes up, I think. But our attitudes are contagious. So what are we doing to have the kind of attitude that if people catch it, that it's a pretty good thing to have? Second, they're unemotional with no mercy, right? The zombie has no mercy. Well, yesterday we talked about anger and how that has been escalated and to some degree prevalent with what's going on today. Part of what we need to do in certain situations in our businesses and in our lives is to detach just a bit and be more analytical, to be a little bit more unemotional. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that emotion isn't critical and isn't important. Of course it is. And your commitment and your dedication to your work is absolutely critical. But sometimes we get so emotional that we can't see the forest for the trees. And part of what we need to do is to take a look at, is there a point where we need to step back and be a little less emotional? because that may help us have a little bit of distance. Hey, some of you are involved in the coaching program that I do. And part of the reason that you want a coach, and I'm glad that I'm one of the ones you've chosen, is to see things from 30,000 feet. One of the things we talked about in post-pandemic events is you need to be at 30,000 feet before you try to land the plane. A lot of folks are trying to land the plane before they've made the flight, before they've seen the perspective of 30,000 feet. So that's one of my suggestions to you is, are you getting that high perspective? And when you get that high perspective, then it's incumbent on you not to be so emotional. I don't want an emotional pilot, right? I don't want a pilot that if something goes wrong on the flight, they break down, right? I mean, when you hear how calm and collected pilots are in emergency situations, man, those are the folks that I want flying the plane, right? I mean, those are the folks that I want when I'm in the air. So the question for you becomes, are you able to disconnect? Are you able to get a bit unemotional? And the last thing that we know about zombies is they are relentless, right? The zombie never stops. The zombie doesn't stop until they are taken out. In this time of challenge and change and difficulty, how relentless are you? Jim Rohn used to ask the question, how long would you give your child to learn to walk? And the audience laughs because it is kind of a silly question in a way, isn't it? But the answer is so obvious. Until, right? You wouldn't say to your kid, well, you've tried to walk for a couple of weeks, you're just not getting it, so let's just give up and move on to something else. No, until, right? Would you do potty training? Until, right? You wouldn't, you hope you wouldn't meet a 40-year-old person wearing a diaper and he says, well, my mom kind of gave up on the potty training and I haven't got it down yet, right? I mean, you would be relentless when it came to that. So that's part of what we need as well. So we want to be contagious, right? We want to be contagious with our attitudes. We want to have an attitude that is worth catching. That's really critical. Second is we want to be able to be a bit analytical and unemotional at times. I'm not saying we shouldn't be emotional at all. I'm saying that we get a balance so that we have a better perspective. You've heard me say on here, you heard me say on here before that you're not your customer, right? Excuse me. You think a little bit differently, you analyze a little bit differently. Typically, your thinking should be ahead of where your customer's thinking is, which means that you don't think like your customer. You're ahead of your customer. Well, so being a little bit unemotional, seeing things from 30,000 feet gives you a better perspective when it comes to dealing with your customer. Finally, being relentless. Are you committed? Are you willing to do things until you get it done? Now, look, there are some things that we need to quit. I get that. We talked about that during the Ultimate Business Summit. If you had a chance to attend that, is that it's silly to be relentless about something that's not bringing you benefit. But if there is something that's helping you, that's bringing you benefit, that has great potential, then you need to be relentless in your pursuit of success. So being relentless, being unemotional, being contagious, not too bad. It's a way to be like a zombie. Thanks, Janice. I appreciate that. Hey, Jerry, yes, there you go. See, Donovan, that's perfect. Getting relentless about getting better. Charles, I relate. It's who was it? Some comedian used to talk about we should really be born like how we are when we're 90 years old, and then we work backward to being a child. And he did a whole bit on that. I thought that was so. We're in diapers on both ends, we're being cared for on both ends, but we really should live it backwards. That's oh, there you go. My family thought I should have been committed, right? I'm committed. My family thought I should have been. I get it. Hey, Darcy, yeah, the Energizer Bunny might be a zombie. I never thought about that. That's funny. I never thought about that. The Energizer Bunny is contagious, right? Because we've watched him for years. I don't know if he's unemotional or not, but he certainly is relentless. I love that. That is so cool. So just try to prod your thinking a little bit with some ideas about the importance of being contagious. The important, that's a word in times of COVID, isn't it? But our attitudes are contagious and our approach is contagious. So it's something to think about in terms of being relentless and in terms of seeing the bigger, broader, unemotional perspective. All of those things can help us get better at what we do. And the good news is you don't have to be a zombie to be that way. Hey, don't forget to sign up for our big event that's coming up. It is called the Distinction Summit. It's Stand Out, Earn More, because when you stand out, you do earn more. If you fit in with everybody else, there's so many summits and things going on right now as the economy pivots and learning becomes virtual and all of that. What would make this different, and why should this be one that you attend? Well, because it's about how you become different in a manner that has meaning to customers and to colleagues. It's about how you grow your business because you become the provider of choice. Why would they pick anybody else? It changes the discussion from why should we pick you to why would we pick anybody else? And that is the purpose of the Distinction Summit. Love to have you there. Just go to distinctionsummit.com when you check out, enter the coupon code DISTINCT2020, get you $100 off your registration. I look forward to seeing you there. All right, everybody, that does it for today's Daily Distinction. I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow, same time. Talk to you again tomorrow on our next episode of Daily Distinction. Hope you have a great Monday. See you tomorrow.